everybody, Wendy here from MUTU System. I want to introduce you today to a fabulous woman that I met quite recently, but you know how sometimes you just meet someone and you go, I like you, I think we're going to be friends. So I met the lovely Dr. Marcie Beigel at an event I was at in Las Vegas recently, LA recently, and Dr. Marcie is a parenting expert, and so I immediately thought, I need to know stuff from this lady, and I know that you do too. Seriously, there are so many questions that I know that every parent wants to ask a parenting expert if they're given half the chance. So I'm going to try and get Marcie to cover a few of the questions that you're likely to be dealing with right now, and to find out a little bit more about us. So Marcie is a parenting expert based in New York. Yes. Marcie, please introduce yourself and tell everybody at MUTU what you do and how you do it and where you do it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me here. I'm so excited. I love MUTU and the community you have built. So thank you for welcoming me into that world. As you said, I'm a parenting expert. I'm specifically focused on behaviors. So when there are behavior challenges of any size, shape, magnitude, that is my expertise, wheelhouse, and love. Because to me, it's just a puzzle of, if I can figure out what's happening with that behavior, then we can change it and everything gets better. My experience is that so many families have challenging behavior that they're facing in their home that they don't need to. So my goal, dream, and mission in the world is to get those answers to parents however they can get it. So I have online programs. I have a blog that is just free for anyone with lots of content. I have a private practice in New York City if you have more intense behaviors. I have small groups if you need personalized help but aren't in New York City. So any way you need support, I'm here to provide it for you. I've been doing this for just 20 years now, which is incredible to me, but I love it. I deal with teachers and parents and kids, and the goal is really to make behavior easier and understandable so that you have the tools to change it every step of the way.
That is so cool. And so the kids that you deal with, so you primarily work with the parents or with the children as well, or how does it work?
Yeah, so in my practice, I started out way back in the day working with just kids, and was in a school and then doing home therapy, and had the office where you brought your kid to me for an hour or 2 or 3 a week, and I did my thing and then gave him back to you. And what I found happen was amazing things in my office, in my space. We could do amazing things. I could push kids' buttons, things that would normally make them tantrum for an hour in the world.
You went home.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a big fan of putting ourselves in a situation that's hard in order to figure out how to get out of it. So that's what I do with kids. Let's do the hard thing together rather than just talk about it. But what I found when I did that was that it wasn't generalizing. They weren't improving in school. They weren't improving at home. Or if they were, it took so long. So I said, forget that. Let me teach the adults in their world the tools that I have, because there's no magic. I don't sprinkle fairy dust on their head and make it work. It's concrete action-based tools that I have, and it's just a few principles that change everything. Wow. And I found that when I gave it to parents and I gave it to teachers, they could not only fix the problems today, but in 6 months and in a year and in 5 years from now, the tools are the same, because all behavior functions the same way. So I started giving it to the adults. So mostly I work with adults now. I do some work with kids. So I do 3-hour home sessions where I go into homes and work with the whole family. But I don't do any pull out with just the kid, because to me, I'm not a natural part of that family's life. And somehow we've gotten into this therapy model where I come to you for years. Yeah. And I don't want that. So most of the families that I work with privately, it's 6 months and we're done.
And that's got to be true too. Like, I can imagine that if you've got a problem child in your office, I'm sure you can work wonders, but of course that kid is then going to go home, and if mom and dad can't use those tools and strategies, then you've not really achieved much, right? Yeah.
Right. And there are so many parents that they're like, well, my kid's really good in school and he's fine on play dates, but at home they're miserable. And no one helps them. Nobody actually goes in behind the closed door, and that's where I live, right? Like that's what I do every day. And so one of the things I love about that is I work with some really, really severe families, severe behavior challenges. So when it comes to how do you get your 3-year-old to to go brush their teeth, or how to get your 5-year-olds out the door in the morning, that's like, oh, right. That's a piece of cake for me, because I'm dealing with kids who are aggressive, who haven't listened for years, who are running out of their houses. Mm-hmm. So when you are, right, it's why I love the online stuff. If you just don't know how to get your kid to do their homework, well, that becomes
you've just named like 3 things that I'm sure people are thinking, okay, well, tell me, how do I do that? So a lot of MUTU's audience, we have younger children. They may have babies or toddlers, but right through, like my kids are 10 and 12. So you just said, for example, the 3-year-old, like what kind of issues might you be having, what that you might deal with, that people come to you for that kind of age group, that might be like a theme?
Yeah, so a lot of 3-year-olds are finding their voice, right? They're finding who they are. So they feel a little sassy, right? And what happens with, especially parenting right now, where everyone wants to be friends with their kids, is the sassy 3-year-old is like, and I want it now! And the parents go, okay, just don't have a scene. And for me, it's like, great, they're being 3. We need to be the adults. So you can be as demanding as you want. And my job as your parent is to be very clear about whether that demand is going to be met. And if not now, when? And if not when it's never, let me just be clear about that. And the more I speak with purpose and tell you exactly what's going to happen, the more that 3-year-old goes, oh, really? I can't yell my way into that happening. I can't convince you somehow to make that happen. Oh, it won't work. Okay. And then they stop. But they're just trying to find their power and their voice and who they are in the world. And when they realize, because we teach them, oh, you're 3, and you teach them, oh, they're 3, and they fall back in line. When you don't do that, you end up with really big personalities at 5 and 7 and 10 who get more and more demanding.
So, for example, the 3-year-old that maybe she is used to, I'm sure many people will relate to, she keeps going and she keeps going and she keeps going, and you're supposed to say no, but then fine, just have it, just take it, do it, just whatever, just get out of my face. So just not that I would ever talk to.
No, you would never. I know, not you. You have a friend who did that once, though.
Yeah, I knew a mum that did that.
Right.
So give us like some kind of parameters, like how, if we've got that demanding 3-year-old, how consistently and for how long do we need to be implementing this before she's going to go, this is just not going to work, I'm going to.
Okay. So first is the get out of jail free parent card. Okay. So if your kiddo comes in for breakfast and goes, I want ice cream, and you're like, no ice cream for breakfast, but your other kiddo was out half the night and you've all been battling colds and you're a little tired and cranky, and you know that your 3-year-olds might fight you, just say yes. Just say yes. In the first moment, make the choice. You can say no once and then say yes, but that's it. If you think they might win, just give in. And that's feel free to give your kids ice cream for breakfast in the morning.
Ice cream for breakfast.
I told you to just say yes. Because here's the thing. If you say no, yes, your kid has now learned mom will say no 10 times. And if I fight long enough, she'll then say yes. So then they're willing to go 15 times next time or 20 times next time, because they're going to always be able to wear you down. Whereas if you say no and only say no when you have the strength, energy, and caffeine in your system to actually hold to it, then your no is no. And if you don't have it, then just say yes to begin with.
And just say it straight away. And okay, so then I see. So the kid is learning, like if it's a yes, it's going to be a yes straight away. Otherwise, forget it.
Yes is yes and no is no, right? One of the 3 rules to changing behavior is to speak with purpose. So if you change your mind a lot, stop it, because that's where the problem behavior is coming from. Because your kid goes, oh, if I yell loud enough and long enough, you're going to give it to me.
Yes. You
don't want your kid to know that. I don't care how long you yell. I've told you can't have ice cream for breakfast. You can yell all you want. There's still no ice cream for breakfast.
Never gonna
and that doesn't mean, well, you can have the chocolate or the lollipop or the gummy bears. Like, you're not giving another alternative just as good. You're saying, here's your cereal. This is breakfast. Eat it or don't.
I like that. That's gold. I like that because, you see that all the time. We see it in ourselves. We see it in other parents, don't we? Of that kind of wearing you down. And you can see the kid has learned I'll just keep going because it works again.
Right. And it works. And that's why they do it, right? It's a habit. It's a behavior. They've learned if I yell for 20 minutes, my mom changes her mind.
And they do have the energy to keep going for 20 minutes.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. So the minute you feel like you're in that battle, just let go. Just be like, you know what? You win. Okay, I'm out. And that doesn't necessarily mean giving in, but given in the beginning. If you're walking home from the park, right, living in New York City, we all walk home from the park, there's always an ice cream truck, right? And if your kid goes, I want ice cream, and you're like, it's 30 minutes to dinner, but you know they might end up on that sidewalk screaming, just say yes. Give them the ice cream, avoid the problem behavior, feel like a rock star as a parent because you made a great choice, and don't have the screaming kid. If they eat a little less dinner one night, that's fine, because the long game, right? It's really a decision. Do you want the immediate happiness or do you want the long-term happiness?
Okay.
Right? So I would say, go long-term and say, I'm okay with my kid eating ice cream for a month more than they should, while I'm teaching them that my no means no and my yes means yes. Interesting.
Okay. Okay. So what about, because that made me think when you said about, well, if I can't have that, can I have that? Kids are demon negotiators, aren't they?
Yes.
That's really good. So should we, I have heard myself say to my child, this is not a negotiation. This is not a negotiation.
You're not doing this.
And then I found myself bargaining. But it's kind of, so should we negotiate with our children? Should it be like, well, you can't have that, but you can have this? Or should it just be like, yes or no?
Well, so the answer is yes, right? It's that both and. There are moments where you can negotiate. If it is Sunday afternoon and you're all hanging out and you're like, what should we do? And one kid wants to go to the park and one kid wants to go to the movie and you really just want to like stay home and play games with them, have the negotiation, have the debate, have the, oh, well, what can we do? How do we problem solve this? I'm all for giving kids their voice at a specific time and place. But if you're saying we're going to the park, and you just made that as a statement, that is the plan, that is what's happening, or we're going to swim class, or we're going to school, that's not a time for a negotiation. That's not a debate. That's not a conversation. This is a fact. We're going to the park. We're going to school. You say clearly and they go, well, but maybe we cannot do that. No, we're going to the park. Just keep repeating the direction because there is no negotiation happening there, right? So depending on how old your kid is, I might say to them, look, I'll answer you once or I'll answer you twice, and actually tell them that. After that, I will talk to you about anything else but this. And start walking in that direction, right? So we're going to the park. I don't want to. No, we're going to the park. Put on your shoes. But it'd be so much better if we went to the playground. Nope, we're going to the park. Get their shoes on. Start walking out the door. Start going to the park. Don't sit there and have the 30-minute conversation about why the fresh air is important and why this is actually their favorite park. And when they get there, they'll have so much fun. Stop all of that, because that's just a lot of noise that they're trying to delay, and they are, you getting there. So just get the shoes on, get out the door. Talk to them about anything else.
Okay.
And my favorite thing to talk about is what's actually happening. When you get to concrete, action-based conversation, it's not up for debate. But I don't want to go to the park. Okay, put your shoes on. Here's your left sneaker. It's going on your left foot. I'm tying your laces for you. Here's your right sneaker going on your right. But Mom, I don't want to go to the park. I hate the park. You're awful. I hate you. Great. Your left sneaker is going on your left foot. Now we're tying it up. Here's your scarf, tying it up, zipping up your coat. We're going to open the door. I have to lock the door. Let's make sure we have the snack bag. But Mom, this is the worst plan ever. I hate doing this. So we're going to go down the steps and we're going to turn left and we're going to walk to the park. It's 3 blocks. Oh my gosh. Do you see this tree? Do you see the red car? Just, we as adults have something to say. Just narrate what's happening.
And we can distract them, can't we? If we, it doesn't take that long. It's like what you're clearly saying is to say it clearly, isn't it? It's like, say it and mean it and stick to it.
Yes.
Unless it doesn't matter too much. And if it doesn't matter too much, just like, whatever, have it.
Right.
Right,
exactly. And so here's the interesting thing to me about that is our kids don't always listen to what we say, right? They can ignore us and we're like, what just happened? Why aren't they listening to us? But every time they ask us something, we think we have to answer.
Yeah.
Why do we have to answer them if they don't always answer us, right? Like, why do we always have to give them the reason and the rationale? Sometimes you have to go to school because I have to go to work, or you have to go to school because I get arrested if I don't, or you have to go to school because I have who knows? And who cares? The truth is they have to go to school. They have to go to
school. Yeah.
Right? When your boss says you have to show up at this meeting at this time, you don't always go, well, why do I have to show up? I don't think that's a good plan. I think, no, you just show up because your boss said so. And so there's this way that our kids ignore us, but we always answer them. Mm-hmm. Let me be clear. You don't have to always answer your child. A lot of times they're asking you things just to get you going, just to push your buttons, just to frustrate you, just to see what will happen. And so teach them, like, nothing good happens when you're annoying. Nothing good happens when you resist me. When you go along with it, when you're like, yeah, let's go to the park, all the good stuff happens there. That's when you have parties. That's when you have happy dances. That's when you celebrate them. That's when you get all emotional, right? Because we get really emotional when we're frustrated with our kids, but when we're excited, we tend to be kind of flat. Yeah. And I want you to flip that so that you get really emotional and effervescent and excited when they do great things. And when they don't, you're kind of boring.
Oh, that's so interesting. So instead of shouting and screaming and, because we get so mad, don't we? And we take it so personally. I mean, it's kind of that we actually think that the 3-year-old is just doing this to make our life hell.
Right.
Whereas actually it's not that big a deal, is it?
No. And they're really just being a 3-year-old, and it's not about you. They're exploring the world and seeing what's possible, and they've learned, right? Here's the important thing about behavior is it works. If the behavior didn't work, if something good didn't come out of it, they would stop doing it. Yes. So they like the response.
Yes.
Which brings us to one of my favorite things lately is positive yelling. So if you have the kiddo that you find that you are often yelling at, they're not listening to you, you get frustrated. Once you yell and explode on them, they then follow suit, and you're like, why do I have to yell at you? Mm-hmm. Because it's interesting. Most adults, when we start yelling, we kind of look like a cartoon character. We're big, we're animated, we're inflected, we're making big punctuated motions, our face gets weird expressions, and we don't do that any other time. Mm-hmm. So my suggestion is to start positively yelling at your child. So when they do something amazing, use that same punctuated movements, the same expressions, the same change in your volume, the same emotionality for something great, right? Mm-hmm. So when they actually walk into the bathroom to brush their teeth, oh my goodness, I can't believe you just did that on your own. Whoa!
I love that.
And so then they're like, what? And your kids will be confused and they'll be like, what's going on?
My mom's lost it.
Right? For sure. But isn't that better than you losing it because they're not listening? And they start listening to you all the time after you do that. All the time. Because they're like, when are you going to yell at me next? It's really funny. It's really fun. And it gets a huge response. And it means that you don't have to yell at them for doing bad things, right? Because you know that that's what they're looking for. And so when they don't listen to you, why would you give them the thing they're looking for? Just don't do that.
That makes so much sense. So Marcie, tell me what I like, because I'm sure there's every nuance of a behavior, but at the same time, there must be themes. There must be like kind of common ground. I mean, for example, demanding stuff we've talked about. Getting out the door. I mean, what parent hasn't just had, just getting out the door? So do you have like tips or tricks that we can just like, this is how we get our, because I've been there where I know I'm not the only one, so I can say it. My kids are older than I can't actually wrestle them to the ground anymore, but when you've got your knee on their arm so that you can get the on, kind of, you're literally kind of, it's like whack-a-mole. You get one ready and the next one needs the bathroom.
For sure.
How do we get them out the door?
So part of the answer is that you have to do the work at the calm moments, right? I have a lot of parents that call me and I'm like, so we're going to do a session in the afternoon. They're like, that's not my problem. Can you come at 6:00 in the morning? And I'm like, no, right? It's the idea that nobody starts a diet on December 15th, right? As a parent, you want help in the biggest crisis area of your life, but that's not where you have to start doing the work, right? We don't start a diet on December 15th because there are all the holiday parties, there's all of the meals, everything's around you tempting. That's like your tantrum moment. We don't start diets on January 15th after all the celebration, okay, now we can detox, now we can get back to eating the healthy food, we can get back to vegetables that are not smothered in cheese. That's where we need to start. And so by the time next December runs around, we're not as far off the wagon, right?
Okay.
Parenting behavior is the same thing. You need to speak with purpose all the time, right? Or practice it for 15 minutes a day when it's a calm moment in your house. So they get used to, oh, when mom says, I have to turn off the TV now, I have to turn the TV off, and it went off. When mom says I get to have dessert, she then gives me dessert. I don't have to ask 37 times. When mom says we're playing with blocks, then we're playing with blocks. Look, she's actually speaking with purpose. If you do that all the time, then in that moment when you say put your coat on, they're much more likely to put it on, right?
Okay.
So that's the first step. The second step is do more, right? So I have 3 rules to change behavior. One is speak with purpose, if you can check out. The second is do more, right? So you have to actually put things in action. Don't wait for your kids to go, especially a 3-year-old. When you say go put your coat on, if you're still standing in the kitchen putting snacks together, don't expect your kid to go do it by themselves. No, you're going to have to go do it with them. Wait to give the direction until you're ready to go. Finish the snacks, put them in the bag, take the bag, say, let's go to the hallway, one direction at a time, and then walk to the hallway. Let them see that that's what happens. Okay, let's put your arm in. Give small action-based concrete steps so that if you need to help them do it, you're actually saying, well, you can do it yourself or I'll help you. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'll help you, arm in. And if you give them the specific action-based steps, it's more likely they'll do it. And then the third piece is you have to celebrate it, right? And I call that choosing honey, because there's that phrase, you catch more bees with honey than with vinegar, which I love. And you have to celebrate when your kids do things. Even if it's the expected every day, of course they're going to do that. All kids should put on their coat kind of thing. The truth is, they need to be celebrated, right? I put out a blog every Tuesday. I've done it for the past 5 years. Like, now that should just be what I do. But I love when people email me and go, oh, the blog this week was great. I love it so much. It's expected that I do that at this point, yet I love the celebration, right? I wake up every morning and have a dance party because I woke up today. Like, let's hope that's expected behavior, and let's celebrate it. So once your kid gets the one arm in, even if you're fighting, be like, wow, your arm's in. Look, I can see your hand through the sleeve. Let's do the other one now. Which is going to get them so much further than you yelling at them.
Sure, isn't it, Marcie? We don't, you hear it all the time, like at all ages, it's kind of, they're being good. Like, it's almost like, shh, don't bother them.
Right.
They're being good. Let's not ruin the moment. We don't want to distract them. So we kind of just ignore it when they're doing what we want them to do, right?
Right. Do you want to be ignored when you're doing the right thing?
No.
Like, when
I want to be celebrated.
Right? Like, when we have amazing milestones, that's why we celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. That's why, you know, LinkedIn has us celebrating work anniversaries. Facebook pops up and says, you have a friend anniversary of 7 years on Facebook with this person, because we need reasons to celebrate. And I mean, especially I work with kids with ADHD, and especially those, when I say to parents, go interrupt them when they're doing the right thing, they're like, oh, no, my kid has ADHD. They're actually focused. And I'm like, it's okay. You're going to go interrupt them on purpose, intentionally, to give them the thing they're looking for. And here's the thing. Most kids, there are only 4 functions to all behavior, but the biggest thing, especially with parents, is they're looking for your attention. So when your kids are doing the right thing, check out this logic. Your kids are doing the right thing. You have a choice. You either go in and give them your attention on purpose and get them back focused again. Or you wait for them to realize they don't have your attention and then do something disruptive in order to get it.
Because they know that the disruptive stuff gets your attention.
Every time. Right? I'm cooking dinner. I can't talk to you right now. I'm cooking dinner. I can't talk to you right now. Let me hit my sister. Well, now I don't care about dinner. I got to go talk to you. Or you're cooking dinner and every 5 or 10 minutes you go peek into the playroom and saying, hey kids, how are you doing? Oh my gosh, I love what you're building. I love what you're playing. You guys are getting along so great. Okay, I'll be back in another 5 minutes. Go back and cook more and come back, check in. There'll be less screaming. There'll be less yelling, because they won't have to make you come if you're automatically going. And I have to say, if your kids have ADHD or focusing challenges, this is the answer. Because you want to intentionally break their concentration so they don't have to, their brain doesn't have to then go look for it. Have them work for 10 minutes, especially during homework. Have them work for 10 minutes, interrupt them, have them work for another 10 minutes, then interrupt them. Because then their brain doesn't have to look for those breaks on its own. You're giving it to it. And once you're giving it, then you can start extending the time period. The 10 minutes can become 12, can become 15, which is how you get kids to focus longer and better. There's intention in going in and giving the attention and interrupting. And I don't know why we don't think we should do it, but behaviorally, it is amazing. And I'm a big fan of using timers in those interim moments.
And you gradually increase the amount of time that you let them remain focused. That's so interesting. Yeah, because with any kids, but as you say, certainly with kids with issues with focus specifically, I imagine that the temptation very much from teachers and parents is like, they're focused, don't say anything. Yeah.
Right. So we just wait until their own brain decides to interrupt them? Or do we go in and teach them, this is how you break it on purpose? It's so much better, right? I mean, the analogy that I always make with this is, which I love because I think is really funny, is think about when you're first dating someone. And you're so excited and when will they call, and let me check my phone. Oh, there's no text. Okay, how about now? Okay, no. Okay, well, when will I hear? And you can't stop thinking about them, right? And then they're like, oh, how about we hang out Friday night? And you're like, great, we have a date Friday night. Oh, who? What? You're all of a sudden calm because now you know when you're seeing them. You know when it's happening. You're like, okay, I can hold out for 48 hours because I'm going to see them Friday. But when you don't know, you're going crazy. Right? So if we tell them when that break's happening, how it's coming, that it's happening on purpose, it's that calm moment in that initial dating phase, right? Where you're like, oh, I know I'm going to see them. I can wait. But when you don't know, you're like, you're anxious, you're nervous, you're a little scared, all the things are happening and you don't know what to do. That's what it's like when you don't know when the attention's coming. They're always grabbing at you for it because they don't know when it's coming. If you set a plan and tell them when it's happening, everyone can relax a little.
I like that. And this desire for attention, which I suppose is a human desire, isn't it? It's not just a children's desire, but it's kind of as our kids get older and they seem to not want your attention. They still do, right?
Yes, so, absolutely. They
so
still
do similar things apply?
Similar things, but different. As your kids get older, what happens at that tween shift is your parenting has to shift. You have to go from being the parent who teaches your kids and keeps them safe to being a space for them to listen that is a safe space for them, right? And it's a very different role. As a kid, you're telling them, as a little kid, you're telling them, this is what we're doing, this is what's happening, this is where we're going, this is what they're doing. When they hit that tween teen age, you have to start saying, well, what are you doing? Where are you going? Who are you doing it with? And whatever their answer is, just accept it. Don't argue with them. When you start correcting them, that's when they shut you out because they're trying to find their independence and finding their voice, similar to the 3-year-olds, but at a very different phase. And it's that moment where you want them to spread their wings and fly. So you can offer possibly another perspective of, hey, I'm going to go do this with these friends. Well, did you think about calling this other friend who might be feeling left out? Like just wondering if you thought about it. You have to start kind of guiding them gently as opposed to telling them what the facts are. So it's a different thing, but they still do want you and they don't know how to access you because they don't want you to tell them right and wrong. And way too many parents at that tween age are criticizing their kids in a way that really shuts them out because they're feeling confused and lost. And as an adult, think about it. When you are feeling confused and lost and upset and someone comes and goes, well, you're wrong and shouldn't have done that, you feel horrible. And you're like, I don't want to talk to that person. And you don't. Your kids are doing the same thing. So be a safe place for them to tell you what's going on, for them to ask you questions. And some of that is getting really okay with the topics that are going to come up from them so that they know they can talk to you about whatever it is.
Cool. I love it. I could ask you questions all day, but I'm going to stop.
Okay. I could do this all day. I love this.
I know. I love it. It's so fascinating. Yeah. So, Marcie, you have something, you have a freebie download that you can send our people to, right? Can you tell us where to go? We'll put a link, but tell us what it is.
Yeah. So I have a link specifically for you so that we know that they're coming from your community, from the MUTU world.
Cool.
which is great. And it's a morning's routine ebook.
Okay.
So I think
so this is the getting out the door thing, right?
Yeah, this is the getting out the door thing. I think it's like a 15-page ebook with my top secrets, some of which you might have already heard, but this you can keep and hold on to. And it really walks you through what are the key things to getting out the door successfully in a very, I mean, my whole methodology is concrete action-based tools. It's not a lot of theory in there, just enough for you to understand why you're doing it. So I want you to have that so that you can have good mornings. That will work for your, it's the pictures and graphics are for the younger kids, because a lot of those parents are figuring out how to get your kids out the door. The tools will still work for your older kids because all behavior works the same.
Got it.
Yes.
And you also have 2 amazing books out, right, that are on Amazon, and I have one of them. It's fantastic. Just tell us just talk us through the difference between these 2.
Yeah, so it's Love Your Classroom Again and then Love Your Family Again. And they're both short and sweet chapters. They're 27 chapters each. They're 25 top challenging scenarios. So the chapters are titled like, She Never Listens to Me, or He Never Sits Down. And it goes through a scenario of this is what's really going on in this situation, and here's your action-based tools. So you have 2 choices of how to read it. Is you can just read it all the way through and get a deep understanding of behavior. Or, because I know that you're busy, you can go and find the chapter you need of, he never makes eye contact with me, or tech is ruining my life. Read that chapter, get the answers, and go. Kind of like you would a cookbook.
I love it.
Right? Love Your Family Again is designed for parents. So it's parenting scenarios, what to do in your home. Love Your Classroom Again is for teachers and educators, right? And the thing that I did that I really love about them is that they line up. So if your kid is having problems in school and at home, you might want to consider getting that book for their teachers. You'll have the same set of tools to put in place and work as a whole unit, which I think is super important in order to make progress, that all of the people who are naturally in your child's life are on the same page.
Absolutely. And I have, guys, I have Marcie's family book. It is fantastic. It's kind of, you go through one chapter, you're like, no, I'm good with that. I've got that one. And then you're like, next one, actually, yeah, I need that one. So yeah, it's a great book. Marcie, thank you so much. It's been lovely. I could ask you questions all day. We're going to put a link underneath the video for where you can go get that morning routine free ebook, and you can find Dr. Marcie Beigel's books on Amazon.com.
Yes, and if you have anything else or need anything else from me, you can find me at drmarcie.com, which is drmarcie.com. And Wendy, thank you so much for having me here. This has been so fun.
Thank you. Bye-bye.